Hey, I'm Michael Cox.
I'm Keelan Cox, and we are
the Cox Team.
Episode 3, Chris Harmon, Financial Specialist. Let's get right to it. So, Chris, I'm glad you're in here, my boy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, you done made it in here, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Hey, man, look, we're going to get straight into it. You know, the Cox Team podcast is something that we're going to be doing to elevate a lot of business owners, a lot of different people in different perspective of business, all walks of life, all right? But we got Chris Harmon, who's our first guest today, and we're going to get right to it and ask him questions on how you got started in the game. So we're going to let Mike start with the first question, then I get right to it after that. So let's do it.
So Chris, what's going on, man?
Man, blessed by the best. How you doing today?
I understand. That's good, man. I mean, like you said, we're going to get right into it. So, like, you know, ultimately what we try to do is make sure we continue to grow throughout, you know, our podcast as well as help others grow. So in doing that, you know, we had to get somebody that's close to us, somebody that we know, somebody that we work with, we can reach out and touch at any time. So you're the first guest. So, you know, the biggest thing is let everybody know what it is that you do. What do you do?
Absolutely. So I got in the financial game about 10 years ago. Sold cars at 3 different car dealerships. Got my real estate license about 4.5 years ago. Got my insurance license about 6.5 years ago. And I currently do credit as well as real estate.
Tight word. So you've been doing this for quite some time, right?
Out the financial side in general, yes. Credit specific started in January.
Okay.
January the 1st.
Tight word. So what would you say would be your biggest hurdles? What would be your biggest hurdles in thus far in the game?
Mainly giving people understanding. For a lot of times, whenever I'm talking to people concerning the credit space, a lot of times people are just lost. They don't know where to start at. And so when you think about the credit dynamic, what you need to do to get your credit in line, sometimes people are reaching out to me very, very last minute when things could be handled a whole lot smoother if they reach out earlier.
And see, that's something that, you know, that works hand in hand with us because we get multiple people, you know, daily on wanting to buy a house, wanting to purchase a house. So what we try to do is we build relationships with these customers. And, you know, sometimes these relationships last years and years. One thing about real estate, it's not all and you can attest to this, but, you know, it's not just go find a house and write up a contract and get paid. It's a process. So sometimes that process is longer than others. So it benefits us to be able to work with a credit specialist because sometimes everybody's not ready. Everybody's not, you know, it's not that time for everybody. Correct. So it benefits us to kind of have you and be able to reach out and touch you from that standpoint. So ultimately when you're dealing with these customers, I mean, how long does it normally last? How long, like, you know, this process lasts? Because we get a lot of those types of questions.
Absolutely. So I tell every client it's all situation to situation. Generally speaking, most people are going to be looking at 6 to 12 months. Reason being is because we don't do credit sweeps. All right. So credit sweeps are illegal. When you think about what you want to get done to your credit, you want things to be repaired properly. So you want to go through a credit restoration process. And what we do as a specialist, we simply leverage the Fair Credit Act. All right. Fair Credit Act simply allows us to review everything that's on your credit and how the compliance and how it was placed on your credit. After going through that process of leveraging the Fair Credit Act, we're able to identify some erroneous things that may be able to get removed. And also we're able to challenge the vendors that place things on people's credit.
Gotcha.
So when you're challenging vendors, what's that process like? Like, how do you challenge the vendors?
Great question. It's a question that always comes up. So, for example, one of the first things we do, we have people get involved in our program. We print up their dispute letters. Once those dispute letters are printed up, the people will get those dispute letters in about 10 days. I tell everybody, once you get your dispute letters, give me a call. Let me know you put everything in the mail. Once a person puts their dispute letters in the mail, they're going to receive some feedback. When they get that feedback, we're going to review that feedback. Let's say, for example, if the vendor that placed that item on your credit has went out and sold that debt. If they've sold that debt, legally you don't have to pay it. So now we can work towards shaking that debt, getting it removed from your credit, and removing you from the responsibility of it. That's leveraged through the Fair Credit Act.
And how long does that process usually take?
It depends on the vendor. So for example, let's say the vendor has not sold that debt. The original vendor you did business with, they place it on your credit and they're holding you responsible of it. At that point, we're going to challenge the compliance. How did they put it on there? What was the time frame? Did they follow all the federal laws for placing it on that credit report? So now we're going to play volleyball. They're going to send out some feedback. We're going to print up a second round of disputes and send that information back in. Okay. So now we're in a volleyball match. Mm-hmm. If that creditor doesn't respond in 45 days, it then has to legally be deleted and removed off of your credit report.
Gotcha.
And remember, this is how how they challenge the vendors, right? And the process of how long that it takes.
Absolutely.
So what I want to touch on next is like, say if someone wanted to be involved, right? Someone want to get involved with what you do, or maybe just learn from you. How does one get involved with that?
Just hit me up, 352-519-6917.
All right,
hit me up. Let's have a conversation. There's a lot of education, and there's also a business opportunity for people who would like to create income. And let's say you're the person who's saying, hey, I don't want to create income, but I want to know how to govern my own affairs and just get some authority in that space. I also do credit and financial coaching. So if a person just wants some information, they want to know how to handle this on their own, teach it to their spouses, teach it to their kids. They're not looking to build a business, but just saying, hey, I'm looking for some insight.
Yeah.
I offer credit coaching as well.
And that's important, guys. Utilize coaching. I mean, it's nothing like learning from a professional. I mean, in all walks of life, right? You don't have to always go with that person. That person not always looking to gain your business, but if they can help you with something, can bring value to you, it's smart, in my opinion, smart to utilize those sources, right? So credit specialists, realtors, financial specialists, gather that information. That makes you a more intelligent purchaser or buyer or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish or whatever goals, right?
And then, ultimately, all of this, it really goes hand in hand. We sit back and, real estate is a relationship business. Like I always preach that. So when you're building relationships, you want to be able to have resources that you can actually reach out and touch. So for example, I get a customer gives me a call and say, hey, I want to purchase a house. Where do I start? How do I start? My very, very first question is, have you spoken with the lender? And the reason why I ask that question is because that lets me know, pretty much if you're able to qualify for the house. And so sometimes you are, we do run across people where you're able to qualify and you get that approval. But there are also situations, because everybody's not in the same situation. Credit is not something that we were taught in high school. That's not a required course. It's something that we definitely wish we would have been taught. Because I guarantee you, some people wouldn't be as credit challenged as they were. But it comes back down to getting this education and being able to use these resources. So what Chris does is very helpful, not only for the people that we work with. It's helpful for us too, because there's sometimes that we can, give Chris a call, bounce different things off of him, and people like Chris. So again, we're trying to provide services. We want to be able to provide services and put people in the position to own a home, and put people in the position to be able to create this financial wealth, or this ultimate wealth that we always talk about, and generational wealth. And the way you do that is learning how the game goes. And ultimately, credit is one of the big components of learning how the game goes.
Which kind of leads me to my next question as far as, Chris, when did you decide to get involved? When did you decide to actually go into business for yourself? Like when did you consciously make that decision?
Yeah, because it's your own business. You kind of have to put your legwork into it, right?
Yeah, and all of these decisions, understand that when you are in business, there's no coincidence. Everything is a conscious decision. So when did you consciously make the decision to go in business for yourself?
For me, man, I knew it the whole time I was working. I remember working in the back of a hot semi where I met you.
No, yeah.
And I was at the Walmart warehouse for 10 years working at a distribution center. I liked that kind of work. I enjoyed it, but I knew it couldn't become passive or residual income.
Right. We used to have them conversations every day.
Absolutely. Every single day. Yes. And so in the process of working out there for 10 years in that particular career, I knew I wanted something better and something faster. I had a good experience with that particular job, but I knew I couldn't scale it as far as income.
Right.
And so when I started looking at business and finance and real estate, I was very intrigued for one, the kind of money that comes with the industry, but more importantly, the time freedom and the flexibility you have with your family.
Right.
Very huge.
And when we're younger, it's always about money. How I want to have the most money. I want to own this. But ultimately, once you kind of get to a certain age, it's about being able to spend time with your loved ones. It's being able to leverage your time and you creating your own schedule. And that's one of the joys of being a business owner. That's one of the things that you get to, and I'm not saying that you don't work 7 days a week and 24 hours a day, but at the same time, you get to decide what time you go to that meeting. You get to decide if you're gonna, go to your kids' play and things of that nature, and not have to deal with the situation of calling to see if if my boss is gonna let me off, or can I, work extra time and stuff like that. So ultimately, all of that kind of plays the role into what we're trying to do. So it's from the financial literacy aspect of things, and the generational wealth aspect of things, and just being able to just kind of create as much leverage as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which leads me again right into the next question as far as your process, right? Let's talk about your process as far as how did you come to become the credit and financial specialist? Like, what did you go through to get to where you are now?
I would say that particular process first started with getting my insurance license. And Mike, you have insurance license, so you know.
Yeah.
But when you get into the insurance game, you learn a hell of a lot about finances that didn't naturally hit your mind.
Right.
You learn about laws and the conception of how laws and how things came into play as far as the initial concepts.
Right.
You learn about dates and timelines, and you look at financial institutions. So once I got introduced to the insurance space, and again, Mike can attest to this, you find out that some of the wealthiest people in the world, they own insurance companies.
Right.
Some of your banks are owned by insurance companies. And they went from insurance to banking to real estate. So when I saw those things and I was exposed to the insurance dynamic, it made me get a knack for finances.
Right.
Then I matriculated from insurance to get my real estate license. Once I got my real estate license, like both of you guys know, it's a great rewarding industry, but it's a lot of time in between that contract and the close of that deal.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of things that go in between.
Absolutely.
Ton of things.
So I had to think about, okay, how do I make money in between the deals? Because here I am, 3 kids, 1 wife, and 2 dogs. I'm like, hey, that's a lot of mouths to feed.
Dogs important, man.
Absolutely. So when you put all those dynamics together, that's what pushed me into the financial space. And then with the credit piece per se, I came into the credit game 2.5 years late. And what I mean by that, the young lady who's my mentor who introduced me to the credit space, she talked to me about this 2.5 years ago. And she said, Chris, you're already in real estate. She said, there's a lot of people that can be helped. Come and get in the credit space with me. I was like, no, I ain't getting no credit with you. I said, listen, I'm licensed in insurance, I'm licensed in real estate, sold cars at 3 different car dealerships. I said, I already know everything I need to know about credit.
I'm telling you.
I said, so I'm not getting into the credit space. And long story short, after 2.5 years of saying no to her, and I'm actually be very, very transparent. Can I be transparent on your podcast?
That's exactly what we want.
All right, cool. So I went through a personal bankruptcy last year, July 2019. And in that bankruptcy, I filed bankruptcy by myself. My wife was not involved in the bankruptcy. In the process of going through that bankruptcy, here I am, Chris, the finance guy, real estate license, insurance license, sold cars at car dealerships, made $90,000 per year, could not get an apartment after I filed bankruptcy. Think about that. Could not get an apartment. Made 90 grand and could not get an apartment because the bankruptcy was on my credit report. So guess what I did? I called the young lady that we had this conversation 2.5 years ago. And I said, hey, Shauna, can you guys remove a bankruptcy from my credit report? So she said, yeah, we can get the bankruptcy removed. I said, how? That was my question.
Yeah.
How can you get it removed? Because we cannot get into an apartment. So long story short, I unloaded my first house inside that bankruptcy. Bought a house when I was 24 years old.
Right.
I did a deed in lieu. A deed in lieu is basically you're signing the rights of the home back over to the bank in lieu of avoiding foreclosure. Mm-hmm. All right. So once I did that deed in lieu, I'm thinking since my wife's credit is straight, we'll just go ahead and roll into an apartment with her name. Every time I was attached to that application, they was like, nah, you got a bankruptcy. So long story short, called Shauna. She lives up in Orlando. Came down here to Gainesville. We sat down. She showed me how she could get the bankruptcy removed.
Right.
Once we had that conversation, she showed me the income she was doing through the credit space. And she said, listen, not only can we get the bankruptcy removed, she said, but you can help people that's in the same situation.
Okay.
She said, you can help people who can't get a home due to having student loans on their report, people that have liens on their report. Now, mind you, your government institution and government-backed loan processes like your student loans or having something like a lien, the person is still responsible for handling that thing financially. However, we can get it removed off the report so it doesn't hold you back from making a purchasing decision. And so once I saw that and I became aware of that information, I got involved in the credit space and it was a wrap ever since. We got the bankruptcy removed in our first 3 weeks. After that bankruptcy was removed, we walked straight into our new place.
Gotcha.
That's real right there.
Yes, sir.
That's a real spill. I mean, and it's crazy that you bring up a deed in lieu. I just actually had a deal that kind of fell through because of a deed in lieu. And unknowingly to the purchaser, that takes about 7 years to get off. And she had gone through 5. So she's almost there. But it actually just happened to a contract that I had that just took place. So it's, funny. I mean, kind of crazy that you brought it up in this situation right here. you know, because I'm learning about deed and lieu and stuff like that as well. So, you know, that's a great tip.
Yes, sir.
But tell, you know, after the insurance world and after you went through that, what was next after that? You say you worked at 3 different car lots. How did that go?
It was cool, man. The car lots, it's a lot of money in the game, but it's a lot of time in the game. And I'm the kind of brother, I don't let grass grow up under my feet. So anytime we got to spend a lot of time at a place, we talking 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
Nah, the kid don't play that.
Yeah, nah, that's a lot of time investment right there, my boy.
Yes, sir. Can't do it. And the biggest thing about the car lot, it's a great experience. You learn a lot about salesmanship, people, personality, skill sets. But for me, the car game has changed, and in the internet part of the game that we're in now, you're going and you're talking to your finance manager and you're talking to your office manager about the client, what they're going through, the finance and blah, blah, blah. And so you guys know how it is being in real estate. I don't like checking in with nobody every 15 minutes.
Right.
All right. So, you know, given my wealth of knowledge in the finance space and kind of already knowing what's probably best for the customer, it was hard for me to go and talk to a finance manager that may just put this person in a proposition and throw anything at them financially, throw any kind of interest rate at them.
Yeah.
So from an integrity position and my prior knowledge to getting into the car game, I decided to step. Great industry. It depends on who you are and what you're willing to put up with.
And the question I have, I noticed that you mentioned, you know, integrity and just kind of helping people. I mean, let people know the value it is, the value that you get from actually helping people, because you're in a service industry, right?
Absolutely.
So you're providing services, and so let people know, you know, one, the services you provide, but two, how it makes you feel from that standpoint.
Yeah, and the things that have made your business grow.
Absolutely. To be honest, my business has grown off of referrals. So I would say referrals and social media. A lot of times when I'm dealing with a person, like I said, you know, people coming to me late, I have oftentimes people come to me and they say, hey, I'm giving you a call because my cousin has been working with you. Things have been moving forward. I saw your information on social media. You know, I've been kind of following you the last 4 or 5 months, but I'm just not calling you. And so, you know, I often ask, you know, what was the hold up between the situation you were in 4 or 5 months ago and, you know, now we're kind of having that conversation. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the hold up is just shame. Yeah. People have shame. In the service space, whether it's one of you guys selling real estate and a person comes to you, maybe their credit isn't right or maybe their debt to income ratio is off, it's not one of those things where we're going to go and put it on social media and go talk about you.
No.
So a lot of times people are coming, you know, and they're saying, hey, Chris, I got this situation, that situation, and you don't want to come later. It's better to start dealing with it as soon as you see that situation is in front of you, because pushing it back doesn't remove it.
Right.
And how it makes me feel on the finance side, when, like I just said, you know, being transparent, I filed a bankruptcy.
Right.
So that little stuff on your credit report, most of the time it's lightweight compared to what people are dealing with. Everybody's dealing with something at different levels. And when you think about the process that you go through, the first thing I do is put each client through a consultation. Once we go through that consultation process, I'm gonna get an analysis. And after that analysis, we're gonna go over game plan and goals. Once we go over the game plan, once we go over the game plan and the goals, you're simply ready and you're armed with knowledge. And this is what I do. Whether you're ready to move forward with me or not, as far as the process with credit restoration, I'm going to teach you credit restoration and also credit hacking. So what's really, really important is understanding that you have credit restoration if your credit is bad. Right. You have credit building, but you have to do both of them at the same time to get established credit. Exactly. The goal for each client is always established credit. A lot of times people are just thinking, okay, I want to get credit restoration. If you're into illegal activity, you just want to get a credit sweep. I've had some clients come to me and they say, hey, you know, one of the reasons I didn't hit you up, I thought the service was going to be like $1,200, $1,500. No, the service that I provide is actually cheaper than a pair of Jordans. And the problem is people have a lot of Jordans in their closet but very little education.
Invest in yourself.
And you have to flip that.
Invest in yourself. You got to invest in yourself, man.
Yes, sir.
Man, so, wow, that's a lot going on. So, you said how long you been in the game?
Credit space specific since January the 1st.
January 1st.
Yeah, finances, about 10 years.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that, man. It's a lot going on. It's a lot you can get yourself into. You know, talk to a specialist, right? Talk to a specialist. If you know you have credit problems, you know you may have a student loan that you may need to get removed or it's stopping you from purchasing a home, talk to Chris. Talk to Chris. He can definitely help you out with those situations. So you just want to make sure that you are, you know, make yourself do that, because sometimes our biggest, you know, hurdle is ourselves. You know, we got to get over that problem. You know, there's nothing wrong. Everybody's been in bad positions before. There's no perfect
Life
person.
happens. Life,
you know, that happens to everybody. Everyone's been in bad positions. So talk to someone. Let them know what you're going through and how you can get yourself in a better spot. So if you want to purchase a home and build that, you know, generational wealth, which is one way of building generational wealth. There's more than one way to skin a cat. We preach this because we're definitely in it. And we see the different people that
you see it. I mean, you see the growth.
But you know, it's more than one way to skin a cat, and you need to talk to a specialist in whatever it is that they do. All right. So, I mean, there's plenty of questions I want to. Anything you want to reach on? Touch on?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, man. Like I said, we deal with a lot of people that reach out and ask us those questions, and
Absolutely.
you know, I'm not in that industry, but it's good to have you as a person or a resource that we can utilize from that. But ultimately, like Keelan said, the ultimate goal is that generational wealth. The ultimate
Correct.
goal is to take control. And you know what we decided we're gonna do is every week we're gonna create an action item for the guests, right? For the people who are tuning in. And so the action item this week it goes right into what Chris has been talking about. You know, you get a lot of people who are embarrassed or ashamed. So make the action item this week. Make that call. Reach out to somebody. Make that call. Move forward and take control of your credit. Take control of your life, because you know, I wish it was something that we were taught when we were in school. I mean, I wish it was something, you know, that we knew the significance of. Because the thing about it is, you know, you were briefly it was briefly mentioned to you when you were younger, but you really didn't know what they were talking about. You're in college. Oh,
a lot of our credit got jammed up before we even knew about it.
Listen, I got a $500 limit for Capital One card. So you turn 18 and you getting credit card offers everywhere. And cell phone bills. Cell phones, different little things like that, and those little things like that really, really have a long-term effect. So for the people who are definitely want to take control of it, that's the action item for the week.
Yeah, and so one thing that I want to touch on. What are your goals? Like, where do you see yourself, in your business, maybe 5 years from now? Where do you see yourself?
Oh man, that's very, very simple. The 5-year goal is also the current goal. I want to get to $100,000 a month passive income. That's the goal. $100,000 a month passive income, and 5 years out, the goal would just simply be birthing that through other people, helping them hit their financial targets, whatever that may be. Specifically related to having their credit right, but also passive income. There's a lot of different ways to make money. Just like the three of us, end up choosing real estate.
Yeah, but at the same time, the real estate, it brings, you develop so many different relationships.
Correct.
It gives you other opportunities. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So what happens, what I've learned in real estate is there's no one way to make money in real estate.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So although you're doing credit, counseling and being a financial specialist, it also still is an end game because you're in real estate.
That's right.
So now not only can you help them on the front end, you get to help them on the back end.
Absolutely.
And I heard you mention before, the biggest way that your business has grown is through referrals.
That's right.
So now if you're referring yourself to yourself,
come on,
you know what I mean?
You got it.
It makes sense. You know what I mean?
So
that's exactly how we try to handle what we're handling. I mean, like me and Keelan talked about before, real estate is pretty much, it's a way of life in our family. You know
That's
what
right.
I mean? From the investing aspect of it to the property management to the sales aspect. I mean, even the merchandise. I mean, look at the shirts. I mean, the shirt we do all of that ourselves. Like that all of that is in house. That all of that is So we have the M&L Designs who kind of designs our shirts and hats and things of that nature. We have just different. It brings a whole bunch of
just opportunities,
and that's the biggest thing.
Building your brand is something that that each person in business needs to focus on. Right, your brand is very important. No one criticizes any of these soft drink companies for marketing on a daily basis. So
right.
In business, you got to figure out and create your brand. And once you create that brand, stick with that brand and keep pressing that brand and make sure that brand is A1, because you as a business, I don't even want to say a business owner, you yourself as a business, whatever that brand is, that's what it's going to be known by. So focus on building your brand. That's my 2 cents of it. You want to drop a little gem on them?
Absolutely. When you think about the credit space, I would tell everybody something that you really have to be aware of when you think about your payment history and how your FICO score is calculated. All right. I talk to clients about this all the time. Number one, 35% of your score is payment history. Specifically speaking to the last 12 to 24 months, the lender is wanting to see clean payment history over the last 12 to 24 months. Payment history, that's 35% of your score.
Right.
When you think about the addition,
So on time, that just on time payments or just
it's
making the
on time versus delinquents.
Right.
So that's 35%. All right. 30% then goes into your capacity and amounts owed. All right. So for example, if you take your credit card limits, how high is that limit and how much of that limit have you used? What is your utilization? All right. Those two components make up 65% of your score.
Right.
All right. Then you get into credit length. That's 15%. How long have you had those accounts open? Generally speaking, the longer the better. What's the credit history? What's the time limit that you've had those accounts open? Then 10% is your credit inquiries. How many times have you had that credit pulled over the last 18 months?
Because that we get that a lot.
And question.
Sorry.
Well, is it better to have your credit pulled all in the same week or once a month?
Ooh, that's hard. So, for example, depending on what you're trying to do, and let me answer it from this position because it's different. If you're trying to get a car, they can wheel you into any deal as long as you have a big enough down payment to soften the blow as it relates to your interest and what your credit is going to be. Right. So they call that participation. Your down payment is called participation in the car game.
Right.
So you can have multiple pulls and play the car game.
Right.
The real estate game, getting a loan on a house, a business, personal loan, business loan, you can't play that pulling every time game.
Right.
It's a whole new game because they don't play games just to get you financed because you can put a certain amount of money down.
Right.
And so I would say stay away from pulling all the time. Mm-hmm. And also too, dealing with how to hack your credit is super important. So when you think about when is it good to pull a lot, it's only good to pull if you know what the hell you're doing in your credit hacking.
Exactly.
All right. So what is a credit hack? For example, let's say if you went 24 months clean payments and you have a credit card limit at $1,000, right? And let's say you have the usage on that $1,000. Maybe you got $250 that you've used on that $1,000 card.
So you still have $750 available.
That's right. Now every 6 months, go ahead and talk to that particular vendor, whether it's Capital One or US Bank, whoever you're dealing with.
Right.
Talk to that lender and say, hey, I want to increase my credit score. Now, if you're getting it, not my credit score, but my credit amount.
Right.
I want to double my amount. If you're getting your credit pulled for things like that and you have clean payment history, now you're going to boost your score because that credit usage is going to be raised up. And in the process of raising that credit limit up, your credit looks healthier. You have a bigger line that you're not using.
Right.
Your line is not at high risk. So now pulling your credit has helped you. Right. You're hacking in that situation.
Gotcha.
If your credit score is low, pulling your credit is super dangerous. Because now we go into the high risk that you're involving yourself with as far as that kind of behavior.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
But man, this is a ton of information, and we are happy to give it to you each and every week, right? Cox Team Podcast, this is how we do it. So, Chris, I want to tell you, appreciate you, my boy, for being the first guest that we had on the Cox Team Podcast. We definitely appreciate it. We definitely gonna have you back, my boy.
Yes, sir.
And make sure you leave all of your contact information, social
Absolutely.
media, phone, whatever you want to leave it.
Go ahead and drop that right now, my boy.
Absolutely, yeah. So you can find me on Facebook at Chris Harmon. And as far as my phone number, 352-519-6917. Also, I will give you a discount on the activation fee if you text, and you'll have to watch this to the end to even know to text this to me. But if you text 352-519-6917, if you text to me Cox or Cox Team Podcast, all right, I'll waive half of the activation fee.
There you
So
go.
that's a free gift for everybody.
There you
Look at
go.
that, man.
Free gift for everybody. We giving out gifts today.
Podcast. That's what we're doing. We're bringing it to you.
Gifts. You got cupcakes. I mean, just everything, huh?
Oh yeah, these cupcakes real out here. If you want to know about them, you know how to get in touch with me. Keelan Cox, Cox Team, whatever you want to do. Podcast life, realtor life. Hey, this is life, grind life. These shirts we have on our website, Cox Team. They come in all colors, all flavors. We'll definitely have them up. So we're gonna get up out of here. I'm Keelan Cox, and that's
Michael Cox,
and we are
the Cox Team.
So hey, episode 3 is in the books. Chris, I appreciate you coming through. Credit specialist guru, man. Hey, big business right here, Gainesville.
Let's do it.
You see, it's a podcast. Cox Team, Chris, financial specialist, credit specialist, guru. That's how we do.
What Drake say? Working on the weekend as
Working
usual.
on the weekends like usual, man. Trying to give y'all a game on a Sunday, man. Y'all gotta make sure y'all tune in on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Look, we drop podcasts every week. This, I'm glad we're in the AC, but it's hot outside, my
Oh,
guy.
yes, sir.
Hot,
Shoot, it's
man,
hot in here.
Spicy, man. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, hey, tell them it's not just audio. We got video, right?
Yeah, we
There
got,
we go.
real video. This
Yeah,
ain't-
audio and video.
This is real deal Breakfast Club type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, we hold on 1 second. There's a countdown. Let's get
3, 2, 1.
Oh, Michael Cox.
So so we just gonna start off with our name.
Yeah.
All right, I'm Chris Harmon out of sunshiny Gainesville, Florida.
All right, we're gonna do that again.
Yeah.
Gotta do that again.
Yeah.
Horrible. But you got nervous?
Nah, I forgot. We never said who's gonna say it first.
You Michael Cox. I'm keeping
No, I'm
Cox.
just saying we never said who was gonna start it off. That's why. So it was a little blank.
It's go time, man. It's go time. It's 2020. It's time to get your credit and your money right. Don't let anything hold you back.